Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. The topic being one of a wise person. We are in a topic of refinement because we deal with people, we relate with people, and so by relating with this Jivan Mukta, we come to see what kind of attitudinal shifts one has, and so we can by that take some inspiration and bring some of those attitudes onto ourselves. Though you may not know the reality fully, you can certainly appreciate the mindset of that one who is a saint, who is a Jivan Mukta, who is liberated while living, or a Jnani, who is a knower of the self. And so, like this, we said, verse 86, that because they have no guilt or regret from the past, simply on the basis that they recognize the past was but your teacher, it was that which was strengthening you, that which was refining you, which was helping you come to the truth eventually. So you can see how healing this can be if you even take it at the level of just provisionally and say, there's nothing to regret in my life. There's nothing to look back and feel bad about. In fact, it was the best thing that could have possibly happened to me, because by the mere combination of your past, as strange as and unique as it was, with the parents that you were born in and the environment, and all those strange family members and conversations you have had with those people who you don't know, they too have contributed to your being here. There was once upon a time a character in your life who may have said something that was piercing, and it did not go well with you, at least at the time when you were in that place. But somehow that word by that person, who you might have labeled later on, has contributed to your coming to the Lord. So we can start to appreciate everything in the past was but the Lord guiding me through pain and pleasure to come to see His presence in all things. Therefore, we can really start to look at our past once and for all and just let go of any burdens or any pains or any regrets that you have or you might have been carrying up to this day. All those relationships that you have had, every one was just Lord in disguise, gently guiding you to the top of the mountain. And when you come to the top of the mountain, you realize that you were there all along, you just thought you were not. And so the journey seemed like you were getting there. And so, having let go and relinquished this idea that I have done something wrong, and I was a saint, a liar, a cheater, a stealer, a rude person, I have hurt people, this is all fine. You are here and now. This is a fact. And so, why is this person here and now? Because you have met someone in the past and they said something and you were not quite sure, and then you were led to the next stage of your life and you didn't know what you were doing. At least you thought you didn't. You thought, I have no meaning and purpose in life. And it all seemed like a flock of birds, a big flock of birds. You were one of them, and you were going along the wave of Ishvara, guiding you towards His presence. And within that flock of birds, you seemed to be just one more who had no clue where you were all going. But if there is only Ishvara here, then by definition, you cannot be getting closer to anything but Ishvara. And so, cherishing our past, and not just this past, but all lifetimes. You see, in the morning, after I run, I have a ritual. I do 30 minutes of running, and then I do Tai Chi for about 15 minutes, and then I do 4 directions of prayer. And the first direction I always point towards the sun. And the sun reminds me that Ishvara is in the form of the sun, the air that I breathe, the very temperature on the skin, the very sweat after that running, the very capacity to move and to even know what it means to pray, to even do this. That is a capacity. So I thank all the elements in our world, the heat, the air, the fire, the waters, the rains, the clouds. And even when rain falls, it's no longer just, oh, it's rain, go in the car and run. Rather, the rain becomes your reminder of that same intelligence all around us, that is through and through and is the only thing that is. And then I turn towards the other direction, and I thank the entire lineage, all our teachers, for having contributed and worked tirelessly to, without any agenda or any reward, knowing the value of this knowledge, having no other purpose but to share it, because it has done so much for them. If someone gives you limitlessness, what can you possibly give them back? So you can see why one is helpless to spread this knowledge. Because when you realize with a discerning mind how vast this vision is, that you have gained all that is, you have nothing to return back. And so what you do, what the body does, is it continues to return back to Ishvara, because it is only Ishvara. So Ishvara was given to me in different people. Now I give back to Ishvara. Like an inhale, exhale. Receive, give. Receive, give. This is the nature of affairs in this world. So this is a natural progression. So I turn towards the other direction and I say thank you for all your hard work. And then I turn towards the third direction and I thank my family, however my family was, whoever my grandfathers who I've never met and grandmothers were, wherever you are, may you be blessed, may you find a way if you are in some dark regions of our lokas. May you find a way, may you hear this sound now, and may this sound bring you back to what you are seeking. And so I help my ancestors to find their way back, because some of them may be stuck, if you want to see it that way, in some darker regions and they do not know how to come out. And so I help them because they helped me through their procreation to bring my parents here, who then somehow they have met in whatever circumstances, and as much as they were, whoever they were, and their combination together has brought me here. They were not religious, I'm still here. They were not very educated, I'm still here. They were not very loving, I'm still here. They were very loving, I'm still here. They were very educated, I'm still here. They were very religious. I might not necessarily be here, you see? So whatever circumstances your parents are and who they are right now, if your parents are still alive, bless them, because they could be now seeking your help to come out of their dark regions and to find their continued journey. You see, when the jiva, the subtle body, when it detaches from the physical body, then you may think this linear system where the jiva immediately enters a physical body and we think according to our time and space. But when the jiva dies, for them, 1 second could be for us 10,000 years. So you think, oh, now I've procreated with my wife and we have a child and my grandfather died just, 5 or 10 days ago. And so we create this romantic notion how it's this, this is my grandfather, this is my, and so on. Or conversely, for the jiva, 10,000 years may feel like, while for us it's about 1 minute. So let us not think that time and space is exactly the same in these different regions, because we know that time and space is relative. And you might have had an experience where you were in some mode and you were there for 5 hours or 2 hours or 1 hour, but it felt like eternity. So this is how we help. So I turn to my ancestors and I say thank you. And then I turn towards the last direction and I say thank you to all those doers, all those jivas who have done so much and sacrificed so much, who have now come and made this person. Because this is a subtle body that was traveling for a long time, body to body to body. And I don't know who those jivas are. I don't know their lifetimes. What lifetimes? So I thank them. How long? Eternity backwards. Because they were born since beginningless time. And so thank you for all those hurts and pains and whoever you were and this disappointments. So this way I heal all those past characters. And that transfers to this character now. This is why we have past life regression. To look into the past life, and even if it's true or not, it doesn't matter. The point is, it's still the person, the patient walks out with a certain a kind of understanding. Why am I afraid of water? Why do I have these habits that I can't explain? There's a book called by Brian Weiss. What's it called? Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters. Okay, so this book, Many Lives, Many Masters, and he was a psychotherapist, and he started to recognize that his patients were speaking of these things that had no connection to this lifetime. Okay, so he was very curious, and I think he got them into a state of hypnosis. And he was able to extract lots of information from these patients. And then he was using that information to feed it back to them and explain, see, this is who you were, this is what you were doing in your previous life. And so the patients walked out healed, some of them. So now, of course, we can't prove this, but at the same time, you cannot at the same time deny patients who do this, past life regression, people who remember, events that are not pertinent in this lifetime. So I heal all those characters. Okay. Now, as a consequence of letting go of this regret and shame of having done something wrong in the past, which can be a burden of itself, let it go right now. Let's all decide collectively in this moment, silently, say, to your past you say, thank you. You have served me well. I choose to let you go. Thank you. Thank you. You have served me well. I choose to let you go. Thank you. Okay. And then you return here. And now we say, also not being concerned about the future, conversely, because the future, number one, is not here now. But one thing is for certain, when the future comes, you will have the ability to deal with it. Why? Because you have dealt with many things in the past. So as far as future is concerned, we can have a simple attitude and we can say, when something does arise, I will be there, ready to confront it, ready to heal it, ready to solve it. I will find a way, no matter what. So again, we can take a moment silently and affirm whatever happens in the future, death, disease, pain, love, coming together, separation, whatever happens in the future, I will find a way. Whatever happens in the future, I will find a way, and I will be there no matter what. Okay. So like this, we're also preparing ourselves for the future. You don't know. The moment we go home, a whole world of new things start to pop up. So let's walk out of here with some warrioress-like mentality to confront life itself in a gentle way, of course. I don't mean against it. Now, consequently, now that we have relinquished our past and we are ready to confront and handle the future, it allows you to be here and observing and be with the moment. Thus, they are dispassionate in reference to the present. This practically just means you're more available to the present. You're less sort of pulled to different directions, just available to what is being required of me right now. And consequently, they have a readiness to look at this world with a right mindset. And this mindset can be seen in verse 82. Let the world be seen as a dream only. Nidra kalpita desha kala vishaya jnatradi sarvam yata mithya tadvat iha api jagrati jagat swajnana karyat vataha yasmat evam idam sharira karana prana aham adi api asat tasmat tatvamasi prashantam amalam Brahma Advayam Yatparam. So just as all that is created in a dream, like space, time, object, knower, is not real, similarly, here too, in the waking state, the world, towards which you are relatively dispassionate about now, being a product of self-ignorance, is not real. Because of this, this body, mind, sense complex, prana, ahamkara, etc., are also not real, because they're not different from the world. Therefore, you are that non-dual Brahman, which is free from modifications, impurity, and limitations. Okay. So here we're just revising this dream analogy, which is to be seen as a pramana. You see, dream is not there to call this world. It's a dream. This world is a dream. And I hear this. It's not the point. Dream is a teaching. It is a pramana. It's a valid means of knowledge to help this mind grasp some concept. Once it grasps the concept, the mind is able to let this concept go and come back to reality. So how is this order progressively understood? It says that the dream world that's coming out of your mind, and the space, and the time, and the objects, and the dreamer here is a subject. So the objects and the subject, both of them are experienced as real during a dream. For you, in that dream, there is no different state. That is the only state that is. That is as true as the truest of the truest. But this dream is then understood as mithya. Now, mithya, I've told you the definition, which is independent, not independent, but it is dependently real. It's dependent upon something else. However, another way to understand mithya is it is experientially available to you, but it's factually non-existent. Like a dream. After waking up from such, you know that the dream was experientially available, but only when you wake up from the dream, you say, it was factually non-existent. It didn't really exist. Because now that the dream is gone, it's as good as non-existent. So you apply the same logic to the waking state, and then you say, this waking state experience right now, look at this. You woke up from the dream, okay, and it was experientially available to you, but now you recognize it's factually non-existent, and now you come back into this world and you make the same mistake. You say this is experientially available, thus it must be factually true. That's exactly what you said in the dream. And so you further add the rationale for that this is more real than the dream because this is more stable than the dream. And so by this stability, you say, oh, well, by definition, this must be more real on the mere basis that it's experienced and that it's stable. But we have just shown you that that which is experientially available is not necessarily absolutely real. Because the dream to you was as equally real as is this state of the waking right now. So knowing this, that the dream world appears real because there is ignorance of the waking world. In the dream, as a dreamer, I have ignorance. I, the dreamer, the subject, have ignorance of the waking world. And that ignorance causes me to take the real dream as real. From my standpoint, it's absolutely real. Thus, for me, it's a real dream. Don't argue me. It's a real dream. Because of my ignorance. Ignorance of what? Of that upon which the dream depends. The dream depends upon the waking state, doesn't it? Because the dream is nothing but a bunch of objects and trees and roots that you have seen in the waking state. And the people and the faces you've seen in the waking state, all of that carries over into the dream world. But not knowing about the dependent nature of reality, you say that which appears in the dream is absolutely real and it is an independently existent entity. The person that I see, the tree that I see is an independently existent entity. The characters and the concepts of dharma is an independently existent thing. And yet it's all carried over from the waking state. Now, when you wake up, similarly, because I have ignorance of the waking, the true nature of this waking world, I mistake it as the world. Because there is ignorance of Brahman, Ishwara's reality, I mistake this world as equally experientially available and absolutely real as I just did a moment ago to this dream. And then of course I would take now comfort because this is much more real. So what you have to do now is you have to have a second awakening. You've had your first one. Now the second awakening we sometimes even call the resurrection, when Jesus resurrected. This is a nice symbol. It's a symbol when the Ajnani has woken up from his unconscious dream into reality. So in other words, in this waking state, you wake up again through self-knowledge. Self-knowledge wakes you up. And this means that you start to see that the world you thought is real is now falsified. How? It's falsified cognitively. It's not falsified actually. In other words, not actually because it implies it actually existed, but the world was Brahman all along. There was never a world here to begin with. There was never your body to begin with. There was never free will. There was never destiny. All of that was but a waking state modification of intelligence, and intelligence is none other than awareness. And so as we start to recognize this more and more, if everything in the waking state is mithya, which also includes the body and the laws and cause-effect and Ishvara, if everything is mithya, then can your sense of I be excluded from that? Can you be excluded from that? Your thoughts can be excluded from that. Can your emotions be excluded from that? Can your life, my life, can your life be excluded from that? Can your parents be excluded from that? The whole thing is mithya. And that mithya appearing as more mithyas, you then succumb to more mithyas. So what I have to do is I have to have a second awakening and recognize its truth. There is only one here without a second. Now the question is, what's the relationship between this waking mithya and the self?
We said the dream is different every night, but our waking state phenomenon is kind of stable. But I wake up still being calm, right?
Yeah.
It's the same.
We have seeming stability here. If you could see your body and close-up microscope, there will be activity, so much activity. So we only have seeming stability. In the dream, we see that stability unfiltered. But here, it gives you an illusion of stability. It's as unstable as a dream. You're just programmed not to see it. Your eyes cannot see constantly changing cells, falling off skin, hairs growing. Have you ever seen a flower, time lapse? How it's just moving, dancing, zzz, zzz, zzz. See how and we look at it and go, oh, flower. And we enjoy it. Doesn't move. If you could just speed up time, imagine that, you speed up time, how things would be, and you see, speed it up 1,000,000 miles an hour, and you see literally people aging, changing. See, if that was the case, we couldn't function and we couldn't figure out the reality, because there will be no chance of thinking about things. So you have to have this stability to take one thought and think about it. Can you do that in the dream? No way. Because the physical body, the physical world, puts mass onto things. It puts heaviness. It's tamaguna. See, in the waking, what's dominant? The physical body, tamaguna. So this tamaguna, we think, it's all inertia and laziness and violence, but it's also extremely necessary for stability.
So we are in a sort of slow motion.
Very slow.
So maybe when you're dead, it's like this lifespan, and now we are in, maybe in a second do our whole lives.
You can even say it like that. We're collectively sharing this average time frequency or time, time programming. We're collectively sharing that at the empirical level. But when you dream, it's not like that because it's your own world. It's no longer collectively shared, which is why in a dream or some substance, you can have a 10-second trip or 10-second dream, like when you nap. When you nap and then a dream begins, and almost like just you set a timer, 10 minutes here. I had this the other day, and I begin to nap, the dream kicks in, and it's like a whole day. And I go, oh, okay, it's 9 minutes, I woke up. So I want to again show you how relative this is. But that's okay, because we're simply programmed to respond like that. So it's really, see, on one philosophical level, you can say, wow. But on the other transactional level, even if I say wow, it won't make any difference. You still have to do what you got to do. But let's not forget the mithya nature of the waking state. And so when you recognize it, you say, now, what's the point of knowing this? It's just to shake your things up of what it means to say real. Because we're so trained to say this is real. You have to shake that up. That's all Vedanta requires you to do. Just shake things up. Nothing really changes. You don't separate from people. Just shake things up. And that shaking up makes you wiser. Because what prevents wisdom is rigidity. And rigidity is that which hasn't been shaken up, shook up. Shooked up, shaken up? Yeah, one of those versions, okay? So it's a notion that I have not shook for many years. And another notion, I'm not shook for many years. And thus it remains these black or whiters that we speak. This is why most people, when you speak to them, it's a black or white notion. It's like this or it's like that. So what you got to do is you got to shake things up. Let all those rigidity, those walls, like an earthquake, all the bricks fall down. So we cannot afford to have such a solid mithya thought that it becomes to you as good as real. That's called a belief system. You haven't shaken it up, shook it up. Shuk. Okay? So, right? Shake up the mind. Shake up. Animals do this. I heard the other day, animals like to shake it off. And we also can do that with our minds by simply looking at our beliefs and asking, is this really true? At what point is it true? Can I find an opposing belief? What other standpoints can I look at it through? What other perspectives are there? Can I be more, open to this? A little prayer to the Lord. Lord, help me to think in a different way about this. I really need some help. Help me. Now you say, what's the point of a prayer? As some people say this. Why do you need to pray? Can you prove that a prayer works? Well, a prayer, you see, going back to Ishwara's order, okay, cause and effect. Order means for every cause, there is always an effect, without exception, because there's only one Ishvara. For everything that I put out, no matter how small, it counts. It always counts, whether you see it or not. So a prayer is a cause, and every cause must have an effect. So what a prayer does is it introduces one more variable into the field, and that variable ends up contributing to manifesting what is important to you. So for instance, suppose that there's 5 people, all want the same job. And person number 1 has prayed a lot and also prepared. Person number 2 prepared like crazy. And person number 3, he has some contacts in the company, so he's more familiar in the company. So now person number 1 who has prayed a lot, but a little bit prepared, he goes in and he doesn't get the job. Person number 3 who's got contacts, he doesn't get the job because he's not that right for the environment. But person number 2 prepared a lot. Now person number 1 and gets the job. Person number 2 gets the job. Now person number 1 goes to the house and says, this prayer doesn't work. I prayed and prayed and prayed. No, it did work. It's just that your prayer, it counted as a total increase in the chance of you getting the job, but not enough. Because person number 2, he or she really prepared. And so they threw a lot more causes into the field and thus naturally got the job. They figured out how to build rapport, how to ask the questions, how to appear, more confident. They took into account all these variables. So think not that a prayer is just this useless little thing. That's the first. So every cause must have an effect. The second is, even if a prayer doesn't work, look at this. Suppose somebody is ill and they have spreading cancer and you feel powerless. Possible. You feel powerless. Then what is the, and you've tried all things to help this person in whatever condition they're in. How do you carry yourself forward without losing your sanity? You pray. Because at least it gives you an illusion of control. It's much better than feeling powerless. So having some sense of control, that I'm at least communicating with some Lord, I'm communicating with the Lord, who is indeed listening to me, it keeps your own sanity available. And that, ironically, is they able to carry over into the person's life, and you're able to help them a lot better. So, everything counts in the universe.
Is it not also that because you are powerless, you can pray, and then you just give the result away to Ishvara.
Yeah, because you're powerless, you pray. Okay, I understood that.
That's the reason to pray.
Yes.
Really asking and give it out of your own hands.
Yeah, it's out of your own hands. And a prayer, as we said, might add, not that it might, but it does always add extra variables into the situation. So it might end up helping. You don't know. But something is better than nothing.
Yeah, at least you yourself can relax in it is as it is.
You can relax.
My hands to help or whatever.
Yeah, you can certainly relax because you know that you're at least doing something. See, there's nothing more debilitating to the person than someone that you care about, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Maybe in this situation, better than praying is just have 100% faith in Ishvara and just give him everything to do in the best way. Because you cannot do anything anymore. So you just have so big faith. I'm giving to you my health, myself. You do what is the right thing to do. If it's the time, it's the time. If you can do something if there is a reason for me to stay here in this world, let me stay. And then you live your life normally.
Sure.
Do the best you can in the situation that you are.
This is, of course, a possibility. Another possibility is prayer. See, we're talking, end of the day, real life. You know, when you're sitting at a dentist's office, a dentist chair, with a big injection and a drill, a powerful drill, and he says, "Open your mouth," okay? And then your Vedanta knowledge is kind of out of the picture, okay? And all you're doing is, "Lord, please, I pray to you, help me, pray, help me." So it's your absolute last resort. So there's no space to throw anything aside. You see, prayer is almost a natural byproduct of our human nature. That's why we say, end of the day, when all options are gone, your last resort is, "Oh God, oh my God, oh my God." Okay, it just comes out. And that "oh my God," the next level of that "oh my God" is prayer. Okay, so they're one and the same, just different expressions.
Yeah, and also letting go is not a one-off.
It's never a one-off, yeah.
It's gratefulness.
Gratefulness.
At the same time.
Yes.
Please and thank you.
Yes. We don't know why maybe it's cultural, I don't know why we do this. But you know, in all civilizations, we had if there's one thing for certain, in all civilizations, as old as they are, we had a connection to the higher. They call it the higher. The sun, you know, the Egyptians worshipped the sun god and so on. So there was always this higher power that we turn to. Now, how we express ourselves, how we gesture, because we're beings of gesturing, how we do that, I guess that's a cultural thing. But we're always relating to that, Ishvara.
So in the Quran it says, Allah will take care of everything, but you have to tie your camel.
Explain it for me. You have
So, by knowing this oneness and praying to Ishvara, that does not extract me from having any duties. Like, I just give it away.
Got it.
Sit on my bed.
Mm-hmm.
Or you want to win the lottery, you have to buy a lottery ticket, you know. There's still not from the doer.
Yeah.
But still you have to act in a right or wrong way.
Absolutely.
So it's not like you cannot be lazy. If you're
No.
lazy, the old stuff comes back and then you're...
Absolutely.
So it's not a one-off.
Yeah. That's why,
Yeah.
That's why I said earlier, this, you see, this is great knowledge given to us, but there is now a duty and responsibility for you to find ways to let it percolate in your personality.
So we can use the energy to heal with our hands.
You can use energy, what?
Yeah, to heal when someone is not feeling well.
I'm sure this is called alternative healing methods. I don't doubt it. Of course, you will call that unscientific because you can't see it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have any efficaciousness. Yeah, so, and even if it doesn't work, it still has a placebo effect, and that much it helps. So sometimes it's not just black or white, it should work or shouldn't work. If I give you a sugar pill and I say it's vitamin C is going to cure you, and you take one and you stop coughing, okay, I've done the job. Oops. Yeah. So the point is, see, communicating the truth is not this linear process. It's very dynamic and fluid. So that's why we're being shuffled around verse to verse. And then now the question that I posed was, what's the relationship between the waking and the self? Or how does this wise person understand the relationship? And then now we get reshuffled to verse 38. The self and the universe. Prakriti vikriti binaha shuddha bodha svabhavaha sat asat idam ashesham bhasayan nirvisheshaha vilasati paramatma jagrad adishu avasthasu aham aham iti sakshat sakshi rupena buddhehe. Awareness, here is called paramatma, shines directly as I in the three states of experience, like the waking, etc., as the witness of the mind, illumining without exception formless elements like air and space, and elements of form, fire, water, and earth, itself remaining changeless. Okay, so we are revisiting this topic, and it starts with Prakriti Vikriti Binaha. So it wants to say here that the self, who you are, is distinct from cause and effect relationship. So now, what is this cause and effect relationship? Okay, so the word Prakriti, we use another name for Prakriti, Maya. So Prakriti here is the material. And this material has the potential to be modified into anything. It is of the nature of the three gunas. That's another model that we used, if you want to understand it more concretely. But we'll call it just the material cause of the universe. What kind of a material cause? Upadana karanam. It is a parinami. It's a parinami upadana karanam. That means it's a material cause that's constantly reshuffling itself. And that material cause is none other than, what's the nature of that material cause? Intelligence, all knowledge, all power. So Prakriti, Maya, we already discussed, is all knowledge, all power. So that Prakriti is the cause of the universe. Now, for every cause, as we just discussed, has an effect. Okay, so now Vikriti is the effect of that modified cause, of that cause. So Vikriti is the effect and Prakriti is the cause. And what do you think is the effect referring to here? If this is the cause, if intelligence is the cause of the world, then this Vikriti refers to the world. And remember the word for world in Sanskrit? And what is Jagat technically in Vedanta? How do you pass the exam if someone were to ask you what is Jagat?
That constantly changes.
Huh?
That constantly changes.
No. The nature of Jagat is that which changes. It is time, space, and everything in time and space. Time and everything in, and objects in time and space, objects, all periodic table of elements. Then it says Atma is distinct from both. It's distinct from cause, it's distinct from the effect. You cannot call Atma a direct cause. Because if Atma was the direct cause of the universe, you would not find Atma here and now. So being distinct, thereby, if these two change, then Atma is not subject to change. And so, this Atma, what's the nature of Atma? It's Vivarta Upadana Karanam. So if this is Parinami, Upadana Karanam, that means it's a material cause which undergoes constant change. Intelligence that's constantly reshuffling. So I'm going to say intel reshuffling. Okay? And what is Atma, the self, which is of the nature of consciousness? It is Vivarta. It is also the material cause, but does this material cause change? No, it as though changes. It takes on the appearance, but it doesn't undergo change. So let's make this more relatable, because it's perhaps a little bit technical. Your mind in the dream, which one is it? Is it Parinami or Vivarta? Your mind. Parinami, why? Explain.
It's constantly changing.
Yeah, so what's happening to the mind? Remember how we said the mind is like Play-Doh? So in your dream, your mind is, you're seeing the fullness of that Play-Doh reshuffling itself, and it reshuffles into a mountain, into the dreamer, into all things. But is anything happening to awareness? No. Therefore, though the entire thing depends upon awareness, awareness always remains awareness. So that's why we say even awareness is a cause, but it's a cause that doesn't undergo change. Whereas that Prakriti is a cause, but this cause, like the mind, the Diderich said, undergoes reshufflement while always remaining exactly itself, that intelligence. And then it says, Sat Asat Idam Ashesham Bhasayan Nirvisheshaha. It says, your true nature, this Atman we speak of here, your true nature is pure, unchanging awareness that illumines everything. Funny how no one's excited hearing about their true nature. Oh, this is academic knowledge. You see, you have two choices now. You can either take this statement as academic knowledge, or this is a statement, this is another Mahavakya, a statement for contemplating upon. So it says that not only does your existence, because you are existence, does existence lends itself to all things, to the Prakriti and to the Vikriti, but also is the illumining factor because of which the Prakriti and Vikriti are recognized to be changing. Do you recognize that things are changing? Yeah? So what do you, what is this you? Because I just asked you a question. Do you recognize that things are changing? And you said yes, correct? So let's analyze that statement. If you said yes, then you must be referring to whatever you want to call that which recognizes, must be referring to Atma, and that which changes must be referring to Anatma or Prakriti. So what's the point of asking this question? It is to definitively show you are not away from this model. You're not away from the final reality. Otherwise, you would have never answered that question. So now, when you go home, are you going to say, I'm away from myself? I need to find myself elsewhere? Suppose you say, I am not enlightened. Okay? Not enlightened. What was that thought, I am not enlightened? Was that Prakriti or was that Atma? Anatma. Why is I am not enlightened Anatma? Because that thought began. no matter what you put inside the bubble of thought, you can say, I'm a saint, I'm a nobody, I am a leaf, I'm a tree, I'm enlightened, I'm not enlightened. All of that comes and goes in time. So what we do is we get caught up in the thought, we get caught up in the mithya, and we totally dismiss the fact that that thought has begun. The fact that it's recognized to have begun and gone away shows you there must be presence of Atma.
So it's always that everything goes at the same time.
Yes,
The other one, this one, the upper one can go away, but the down one will stay.
the Prakriti is always going away. I am enlightened, gone. Prakriti. You see? So moksha is not some event that's going to take place in the future. It is what's true right now. And this awareness, without exception, without any exception in the future, as I just said, or in the past, illumines all this, including forms. Now here uses the word sat for forms. You see how the context changes? Sat, we just said, is the truth. You can only use sat for the truth. And now it's using sat for forms. Earth, water, and fire. It also is without form, asat. I thought we used the asat for that which is illusion. Totally changes. Asat here means that which is formless, air and space. So I am the truth of both earth, water, fire, air, and space. Now, these are the 5 elements. How do I show you that your body has these 5 elements right now? Well, your organs are put inside the right place, the space. The brain is here, separated by the heart is here. So there's a space between the two. Air, there is oxygen in your blood. Then your blood is mostly water. And then, when we turn this off, then fire comes up, heat, and you burn this body and you have ashes. Just earth. Okay? So this is a model showing you what is the truth of this body. The truth is Prakriti. And what is the truth of Prakriti? It is Atma. And Atma is known to you and must always be known to you, always, because whenever I ask you the question, do you know about change? You will always answer, yes, showing you there must be an unchanging presence. And that unchanging presence, whatever name you want to give it, Atma or the Self, that is the reality. That is Brahman. And then it continues, Aham aham iti sakshi. You shine directly as the constant witnessing I behind the changing I. So we said that this true I is the uninterrupting witness consciousness. It doesn't get interrupted, it doesn't get cut, it's always available. And it illumines this ahamkara I, this constant character that yesterday during our 3 o'clock session went, oh, let me go and get a beer, and I felt, good or whatever, let's go play badminton, let's go do this. There was a little bit of happiness, some little relief, and then he said, oh, and then it's tired, and then you said, I am tired, and then this morning, hopefully, hooray, let's go back to class. And now when it's, almost, 30 past, it goes back to small, and he wants to get a drink to go big, okay? So this is the ahamkara, and I am the unchanging witness of that, which never comes and goes. And what is then bondage? According to this understanding, putting that unchanging witnessing I into the changing ahamkara. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam eva avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.